Welcome to This Is Country Edition, where I do something different for a change and take a stand for my adopted country. So I keep hearing from certain friends and news media outlets that Australia is just like the USA. So today I'm here to right that injustice for all my fellow Aussies. Now mind that there is nothing wrong with the USA, but to assume that another country, or heck in this case an entire continent, does not have its own culture is just plain ignorant. So without further ado, here are my top 10 reasons of why Australia is nothing like the USA. Number 1. Australians pay less for education. On average, Australians can pay anywhere between $12,000 to $30,000 per college year. And when compared to America's $20,000 to $40,000 average, it really doesn't seem like that big of a difference. But here's the real kicker. Australians have a far better school loan system. AusStudy allows students to borrow money at no interest and only pay it back once they make over a certain amount, meaning that most Australians have a more secure future. Meanwhile, student debt in the USA only continues to rise regardless of how well the economy is actually doing. Number 2. Australians live longer and happier. While life expectancy in the USA is only between 69 to 79 years of age, life expectancy in Australia is between 71 to 82 years of age. Not only that, but Australia has consistently been voted the happiest country in the world, meaning its citizens live richer and more fulfilling lives. I mean, as long as you don't get killed by any of the local wildlife, which can quite easily happen here. Number 3. Australians drink more. Boy oh boy, there are a few things as bad as being worse in life expectancy when compared to a country who also drinks more than you. Don't Australians also beat us? Shut up, mini-me, nobody cares. Little twat. Number 4. Australians drink real beer. I'm not even going to bother talking about this, take it away, Monty.
We find your American beer is a little like making love in a canoe.
Making love in a canoe?
It's fucking close to water.
Thanks, Monty. Number 5. Australia has a cheaper healthcare system. The USA is currently facing a little bit of an identity crisis when it comes to its healthcare system, with one of its presidents offering a solution and then the next one mucking it all up. Meanwhile, Medicare, which is the Australian healthcare system, covers all of its citizens, including those who are just permanent residents, which kind of plays into the whole life expectancy thing. Number 6. Texas is not the biggest state. I heard that a lot of Texans like to believe they have the biggest state. And while I'm willing to believe that most Americans think of Texas as the biggest state culturally, many of you also believe that Texas is the biggest state geographically. Well, that doesn't hold true because for starters, Texas isn't even the biggest state in America. Alaska is at 1.7 million square kilometers. Secondly, Western Australia is even bigger than that at 2.6 million square kilometers. When compared to this, Texas is more like a stunted dwarf at only about 0.7 million square kilometers, give or take. Number 7. They use the metric system. I understand that some people might be confused by the previous video because I used metric units. You see, while most Aussies still understand the imperial system, in 1970 the country decided to switch over to the more efficient metric system. And the only imperial measurement the Aussies use on a daily basis would be that of a pint. Number 8. Australian football is for real men. Americans and Australians both play their version of football, which can be considered quite similar, but watch one match in Australia and you will notice one key difference. While Americans wear armor to protect their feelings and personal space, the Aussies consider such gear to only slow them down as they violently massacre each other on the field. Number 9. Military spending. Finally, something Americans do better. The USA currently spends about $1,611 billion on its military budget, which is about 25 times more than Australia. And mind you, that is not as bad as it sounds because, you know, the American economy is bigger and the actual GDP percentage-wise is not that different between one another. Okay, I realize this is a touchy subject, but I often hear that Australians like their guns about as much as Americans do. This is not true. You see, while Aussies have their fair share of guns, they have a better handle on the flow of legal and illegal firearms. As such, Australians have to contend with relatively fewer gun deaths, while in the USA, well... yeah. Look, Australians are practical people and don't have a stupid Second Amendment which they treat like a verse from the Bible, okay? They did have a massacre at Port Arthur, but they really got on top of the problem there and then. Like I said, practical. Well guys, that's it for my video. I hope you found it enjoyable. I realize I might have offended a few of my American friends, but just remember, the video is made for comedic purposes only and every country will get its turn, even Slovenia and Australia. So, if you're still offended after all of this, just remember one thing. I could have made it a whole lot worse. I mean, you got President Trump in charge, I mean, what were you expecting? Anyway guys, be sure to write in the comment section below and tell me which country you would like to see next, and until next time, have a good one.